Hello and welcome to History Through Fiction, the podcast. I'm your host, Colin Mustful, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by Jackie Lapin, the founder of The Historic Traveler. Jackie, welcome.
I'm delighted to be here, Colin. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. Well, we first met at the Historical Novel Society North American Conference because our interests overlap, of course. Tell us how those interests overlap. What is The Historic Traveler?
The Historic Traveler is an online destination for people who love history, travel, and historic novels. We include 3 posts a week and a 100-page magazine quarterly, and that's just the beginning. We'll talk a little bit more about the rest of what we offer in our membership program. But what's really cool about this is what sets us aside from other travel-oriented sites is that we post a article about some place in history. We'll give you what its significance is, the history of it, what to see when you're there, whether it's a building, whether it's a city, whether it's a village. And then we'll also give you photographs. Oftentimes they're mine. I must say I'm coming out of the closet of a photographer. But most importantly, every post, every article includes a list of historic novels and historic books that make you feel as if you lived there. So we combine both of these elements. We say we marry your travel to the books that bring history to life. And I have been an avid historic novel reader my entire life. One of my great passions, I'm actually a collector. I have all the books back to Michener and Gore Vidal and Irving Stone and the real masters of and all the way to a lot of the modern folks that I adore, and I have met several of them at the conference that we were both at. So I've married it all together in one place, and you can be a history lover, you can be a travel lover. But most importantly, if you love historic novels, this is the place to be because we really celebrate them. And we also have another feature, two other features that really apply to this. One is our Hot 25 Historic Novel Alert. And what that does is it comes out every other month with the coolest new historic novels on the market that you should read. And it goes from everywhere from the international bestsellers down to real gems from first-time authors. If the subject is interesting, you'll love it. Now, one of the things we do have for that as well is we now have a new book directory that's ongoing of history books. So if you like history books too, it's not every history book. We call it the History Chronicles. It's the ones that are the most interesting from the last year. I pick and choose with those, the things that really tweak my interest, like the book all about fashion miscues over the years. That's one of my favorites. So it's really interesting and fun. Now, the other thing that really applies to people who love historic novels is that we have the world's largest directory of history-centric books by locality. So you can put in a country, you can put in a city, and it will pop up, or even a state. You can, and all the books from that period, that area will show up. Whatever, and we'll also identify, whenever possible, what period that book is from. So you can wander through there and can peruse different books based on what you're doing. And one of the things that somebody reminded me in the historic novel field, it's also a great place to find your comps if you're looking for a book proposal and you want to look for comparative books. So it has a lot of applications. And, we love to bring historic novels front and center in context of where it happened and what it would have been like to live there.
As a publisher, authors are often asking, can I have a map in my book? It needs a map. So many novels now, it's nice to have that map so you can get your footing of where you are in the world. And so I think what you're talking about is just so valuable because the reader is in the world, they're imagining it. I often have the experience of thinking, wishing I could go visit Fort Sumter because I'm reading a book about Fort Sumter or something like that. And now you say you can search by location, which I think is really valuable too, because let's say I already have a trip planned. I can just search that location and start reading books that will kind of inspire me to enjoy that trip even more if I can pick up one of those books.
Well, and you can also search for our posts by location. Now, that doesn't mean I've covered everywhere in the world because we have a long way to go. But if I've been someplace, and here's something else that we do, which we love, number of historic novelists have contributed to us articles that they've written from the research they've done when they've gone someplace. And we love to feature those as well. And so, in fact, one of your authors, Jillian, did a great piece on Meissen for us. So, it's a quid pro quo because you get to promote your book at the same time we get copy.
Mhm.
And that's been a real boon for us as well. So even if I can't go somewhere, there's somebody, oftentimes an author who has. And it also can be, time related. I've got an author that's about to submit me 3 articles on Victorian England on some specific aspects related to her mystery series. And so that's not something that I would be able to do or research on my own. She's done the research and she's contributed here. So you, as a reader, get the benefit of not just my travels, which are 550 different localities, but from other people as well. So we're a growing community. And our magazine, that 100-page magazine, is really interesting because the Historic Traveler magazine is divided into 2 sections. The first half of the book, is all about destinations. And we take you to places, and whether it's a cover story, whether it's a byway in the Americas, or whether it's like a place of worship, a hotel, an adaptive reuse area that's been used one way in history and now is being used another way. It might be a grand manor. We have different categories so that you join us as we explore these individual places. The second half of the magazine is all about media. So there's 4 book reviews in there. There's usually something about television. There's usually something about film or about the literary world. Now, in both of those, we have a Q&A. The destination section is usually somebody that either is knowledgeable about history, like a travel guide that can take us somewhere and tell us what we're seeing. We recently did a magazine on Roman legacy, and most of the articles were all about continental Roman ruins and what's left. The expert gave us something on the Roman in Rome, excuse me, in the UK, and so what was to see and what the history was there. So, but we've had people that were like the people who saved the lighthouses in America, the people that are saving the dude ranches in America. So there's always a really interesting Q&A over there. And then on the other side, we always interview international best-selling authors, Fiona Davis, Madeline Martin. We've got coming up as Laura Camoy, who is co-author with Stephanie Dray on several books about the women founders of the United States. And so we parry that. And some of the British, like, for example, we also have Tony Riches, who does a great series on Elizabethan characters. But we always especially love books about people that actually lived and the reinterpretations of them. So that's, some of the things that we do. And so the magazine is really an in-depth dive, and it's quarterly. So, you don't have to read 100 pages every month, but quarterly, and it's themed. So the next one is going to be America 250. The one after that is going to be celebrating women. So we continue to bring out new subject matters that are fun and compelling and keep you engaged in the concept of both history and historic novels.
Well, it just sounds so incredibly valuable to bring all those elements together. I must say I applaud you for highlighting the travel research that authors do. You mentioned Jillian and the Meissen porcelain factory in Germany, where she went to as a part of her research for her novel, The Porcelain Menagerie. And I talked to dozens, hundreds of historical fiction authors on this podcast, and they're always telling me about this research that they do that really kind of goes unnoticed by the reader because that's so early in the process, and it is a big investment for them. Like it's fun, sure, but to travel to these places and actually get an in-depth look at them. So for you to highlight the work that they're doing and then to give it as a resource to other writers and to people that are just more interested in learning that behind the scenes stuff, I think that's just really valuable.
Well, and for me, I find the most fascinating, amazing way to learn history is on the coattails of somebody who's already done the research, and yet it's made it fun. I mean, you're engaged in somebody's story. It's not just the straight facts. Now, I love history books that are really interesting and biographies as well. But there's just something amazing where you can just escape into historic novels, and that's just like the basis of what we do at the Historic Traveler. We've got some other great features. For example, we have a directory of historic TV dramas and where you can watch them. We have a directory of the top 200 films by era, historic, of course. We've got a directory of what I believe to be the best travel guide because it's the one that includes the most history, but really telling it in a compelling manner. We also have a travel agent that'll book you at no cost. We have my directory of historic hotels all over the world. We're about to add our directory of historic museums. After that will be a directory of historic restaurants. We also have a travel vacation guide on the front with 16 different categories. So if you're looking for a tour, you're looking for a cruise, whatever, you can come and peruse that. And we also, and I have to say, I love this, I have a photo gallery. So if you love photography of places all over the world, then come and visit because I've got 171 individual collections there. And they keep coming and growing. We just love to, kind of tell the world about history in so many different ways. And one of the really fun things that we started doing that has been a huge success with us on social media. And by the way, come join us on social media. We've got so many cool things going on over there. But one of the favorite thing that is just taken off like crazy is every Friday we put my face on some famous or sometimes infamous and some maybe you don't even know woman in history. We will tell you, we say, guess who I am? We will give you a bunch of clues, and at the end, we'll reveal who she is. And you get to see her real face, actually, at that point. But they are so fun. They're little reels. They're actually now on the site, so you can go and see about 30 of them on the site. But they are just a hoot, and they get a tremendous response. We put out different posts on our articles. We put out posts on the magazine. We put out posts on book of the week, book of the month. We also do a lot of book reviews. So there's always run on the homepage of the site. We just put one up there recently, a new one. Then I do a newsletter every other week. And that newsletter comes with what's going on in history and archaeology, very cool finds or reinterpretations. One of my favorites is recently there was a locket that Henry VIII gave to Catherine of Aragon that was discovered by somebody going around with a metal detector. And the British Museum bought it for millions of dollars. It was a beautiful piece. And so, stuff like that I'll tell you about. And then there's there's a book review under the title of What's Jackie Reading Now? And then we'll tell you what post you might have missed. And then we'll introduce you to new stuff, all kinds of interesting things that's history centric. So we're always reinventing. We're always adding new things. We're going to start a new video series soon. So if you sign up, and by the way, this is a totally free membership. If you go to the website and just sign up for the totally free membership, you'll get all of this. It'll open up and unlocks many of the things I was just telling you about that are not open to anybody that just comes to the site. And then you'll get the newsletter to remind you, oh, the new magazine is out, or the Hot 25 is available at this point. You just stay in touch, and then you'll get all the resources that we do. And as we expand and grow, we'll bring you what's next.
That's all very amazing. Tons of great content. I'm curious, you mentioned you do book reviews. Well, I mean, you do all these different things. What about authors that want to work with you, want to be featured? How do you discover authors to include on the Historic Traveler?
Well, one of the things is we do have a launch package for some authors who are really getting ready to roll, and they want a lot of stuff on the site. They want reviews, newsletters. They can do advertising. They can do advertising in the magazine. They can do, there's a ton of different things and submission of an article. I mean, it's a nice little package, and I encourage people to come on over, check that out, and reach out to me and I will send that link to you so that you can see what that includes. That's a great way to do this. And there are other kinds of ways. I mean, you can send me your book. Now, that doesn't guarantee you a spot. And I do prefer physical as opposed to a digital copy. Send me the book. I'll consider it. If I like it, I might just interview. If you do the package, it's a guarantee. You will definitely have that visibility. But, and then there's a possibility you can always reach out to us and, offer your articles for previous books. Now that won't be part of the launch package, but if you've got a book that you want to keep, the promotion going for, and you want to give us a researched article for that, then that's fine too. I have an editorial guidelines that I can send you and samples of previous ones. So let me just tell you how the best way to get a hold of me. You can Jackie at thehistorictraveler.com. And by the way, if you've got people here from Britain, it's one L, not two. Two L's will take you somewhere else. And you have to put the THE in front. So it's Jackie at thehistorictraveler.com. That's, of course, the name of the website, too. That's where you'll find us, thehistorictraveler.com. So, either way, come visit me. You can scroll the website. We do have a page that says partner with us. You can set up a meeting with me there. Any which ways, I'm open and perfectly delighted to connect with historic authors. And the more visible you are, the more you put us in your sites for future, exposure. And by the way, one of the things that we will give you in that package that I was just talking about is you get a reel. We'll do a reel. We'll do a promotion on your book for social as well. So there's just a lot of ways that we can promote you to our community. And I'm happy to say that we're now generating about 30,000 visitors a month. And our YouTube and our TikTok together are 120,000 lifetime views. And we've only been operating since a year ago, February. So that's in just a year and a half. So people are clearly reading what we do, and we love to get out there and help you guys as historic novelists spread the word about the work that you do.
Well, I don't think I am a member right now, but as soon as we're done talking, I'm going to become a member because this all sounds right up my alley. Plus, I mean, you're giving me so many great ideas as well. And I love that you featured some of our history through fiction authors on guest blog posts. I think Patricia Bernstein, author of A Noble Cunning, was just on there. And I love when our authors post guest blog post places and help kind of cross audiences and gain more viewers and readers that way. So thanks for featuring some of those articles.
We're delighted, and we love it when we get more than one. Patricia's on her second, and she's already given me the third one.
Okay.
So we love that. That relationship is really a treasure to us. So yes, we're absolutely into building relationships with our authors. So Patricia was great at saying, "Oh, I can do this one too."
Well, let's talk about you a little bit. You're a serial entrepreneur. Tell us your long and winding road and how you got here.
So I'm one of you guys, essentially. I've been a writer my whole life. At the age of 11, I told my parents I was going to be a sports writer. Now, there were no women sports writers in that era. I'm older than I look. And At the age of 20, I was at the Detroit Free Press. 21, I was at the Associated Press and on the front pages of the Los Angeles Times. At 22, I was co-hosting Dodger Dugout on Channel 11 here in Los Angeles, and I was at the Washington Post. I left the Post, came back to Los Angeles, and within a couple of years, I had one of the two largest sports, special events, and cable television public relations agencies in America. Had an office in LA and New York. It was a world-class client list. I launched the first Los Angeles marathons. I had Showtime, Top Rank Boxing, the National Hockey League, Toyota Motorsports, Ice Capades, Harlem Globetrotters, and tons of brands that you would know. And so that was an exciting period in my life, one of the most exciting experiences I've ever had. And it was interesting because I was a woman in a man's world and was always underestimated for what I was doing. And when I was doing that, I was also escaping to follow my passion for history all over the place. When I'd get away on vacation or go to a conference around the world, I would always pair travel with it, and with my little cameras. And so then from those years doing that, I realized I was called to write two books in personal growth. And by the way, I've written four books. My first two were for women athletic directors in high schools and colleges way back after before I started my agency. The latter two were personal growth books, The Art of Conscious Creation and Practical Conscious Creation, Daily Techniques to Manifest Your Desires. That book was the best spiritual book of the year at the International New Age Trade Show. Both of them did very well for starter books. And I realized while I was doing that, that one, I really preferred to serve the people that were making the world a better place. The public relations sports business was changing dramatically. The bigger agency were swiping us smaller companies off the planet. I saw the writing on the wall. And I had really started doing publicity for my own books when at a time that publicists were only using broadcast radio as an audio tool to get books out in the world. But I realized there was something called internet radio that they were ignoring. And so I built this list of 750 internet radio shows, and I did over 100 interviews for my own books. And when I got done with it, I thought, if I can use this, so can a lot of other people. So that's when I rebranded the company Conscious Media Relations. And that's the other half of my life. I do podcast tours. We morphed from internet radio to adding podcasts. And now there's 4 million podcasts out there. So we started doing podcast tours for people in personal growth, spirituality, health and wellness, women's empowerment, and life improvement. That's our niche. We have the largest list in the business in that niche. So I've been doing that for 18 years. And if your listeners know these names, Don Miguel Ruiz, Ariel Ford, James Twyman, Joe Vitale, Kristen Janet Atwood, Maureen St. Germain, Joe Dispenza, Marie Diamond are some of the superstars that I have done this for in that industry. So that has been ongoing through the last 18 years. And the historic traveler arose in when I finally hit a golden age. I realized that I didn't want to do the things I didn't want to do anymore, which was I had a company that helped people get speaking engagements, just gave them leads. And I didn't want to do that anymore. It was sucking the life out of me. And I had just done a trip to Europe to see the bucket list cities that I had always missed and wanted to see. I did 9 weeks in Europe, and I came back with this treasure trove of photography and knowledge and passion. And I thought, God, there has to be something that I can do with all of this and what I love. And it was like an automatic download from the universe. All of a sudden, the whole concept of the historic traveler just showed up in my head. And particularly the fact that I was marrying the travel to the books and my photography. I mean, what could be more perfect? Put all 4 of my passions in the one place: history, photography, travel, and books. So it just morphed all together. And It was a hit right from the beginning, and we've been growing exponentially every single month. And what's really been exciting is that people have been telling their communities. One of the things we do ask is if you do a contribution, if you are partnering with us in some way, shape, or form, tell your community about us. And we get a lot of our enrollment through those. Or I did a travel podcast that is still spinning off members constantly, which is a joyful thing. So we love that. And once we launched the Hot 25, that has really also been going exceedingly well. As you and I had a conversation just before we came on here. I just went to BookCon, and I got 500 people signed up for our Hot 25 list. And I think if more people knew about us, they would sign up in an instant. It is astonishing to me how many people love historic novels. They're these, they keep it under their hat. They don't tell the world that this is their guilty pleasure. But there are so many of us out there.
Well, send them our way for sure. Well, congratulations on just finding all your what you enjoy and being able to put them all together and then offer value to others, knowing that others will enjoy those same things. I think that's really amazing. Can you maybe give us an example of one or two novels that particularly fit this style of travel and reading, maybe some books that you've really enjoyed and that you've gone to see the sites just because of it?
Well, I won't say that I went because of it, but it's one of my favorite. You know, I've been there now. Know what I'm seeing in my mind, and I love S.J. Paris's series uh, about a very interesting figure named Bruno. Give me 1 second, 2 seconds, come back. Okay. And this series is Giordano Bruno was one of the great spiritualists. He was actually originally a monk, in Italy, and who had to leave the country because his thoughts were so heretical that the Inquisition was after him. Ultimately, he made the mistake of going back and they got him. But he went to England and lived there in the Elizabethan era and hung out with the great astrologer Dee, and was really immersed in that. So Paris developed a series about him as a spy for Elizabeth's spy master. And one of, besides of the London sites, the last book in the series was called Alchemy, and it's about Prague, which is a city I adore. And so when I got back to, I'm trying to remember whether I read this before or after I go, but I remember being able to really imagine all these exact places because I'd been there. I'd been in almost every site that she mentions in this book. Another book, which is, it's always bridges the history, but it's contemporary, are Dan Brown's books. And I remember reading Inferno, which is about Florence. And before I went to Florence, and it was one, it lit my fire for it, but more importantly, it told me everything I wanted to see when I went to Florence. He went through almost every one of the major historic places that would have been first on my list. And so I more or less kind of made my list based off of what I read in his book. So, and then it brought the book even more to life. So that combination, those two, I think, really stand out for me.
It was a bit of a travel guide then,
Yes, it really
unintentionally.
was. Yeah.
Well, Jackie, congratulations again on the Historic Traveler. Before we end here, just maybe one more reminder, where can people find the Historic Traveler and how can they sign up to become for the magazine and become members?
You go to thehistorictraveler.com. And if you don't see the pop-up, which you probably will upon exit, there is a little place in the nav bar that says become a member. just log in there. There is a place at the bottom of the page just for the newsletter, but I encourage you to go ahead and become a member because it gives you more and greater access. And that's the simple way to do it. We would love to have you come on in. It gets you the newsletter, it gets you all the resources. And we also have a community that we're starting to grow. And we were just kind of waiting till we got a critical mass. And we'll start doing a book club. We'll start doing a community. So be there when we're starting to connect with each other. So I encourage you to participate in that and to see what's next because we've got all kinds of new things coming.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again, Jackie. And yeah, let's have you back in a year just to see how much you guys have grown.
I'd love that. Thank you, Colin. I appreciate it. And we love History Through Fiction. We think you're a fabulous organization and love to have this wonderful association with you.